Are y'all ready to head off the trails? I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a mysterious journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on the Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We'd really appreciate the love. Shout out to Bumblefoot for that amazing intro music. Once again, we really appreciate it. You guys follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. You can find me, of course, at thecryptidhuntress.com, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. Visit my shop, War Woman Goods, you guys. And right now I have a special going on because I just wanted to give back to my audience. You guys, if you go to my shop, you check out, use promo code Bigfoot, of all things. Promo code Bigfoot, you'll get a nice discount there at my shop, War Woman Goods on Etsy. Okay, I have a fantastic guest here once again tonight. I have Jim Helbert here. But don't forget, right after the show, After Hours has a great program set up for you guys tonight. So let's get to our guest. Jim Helbert is a master dowser and member of the First Georgia Dowsers and American Society of Dowsers, ASD. He's listed on the ASD website as a dowsing practitioner for the southern region of the U.S. He has dowsed for clients in U.S., Mexico, Canada, and Africa. He's a psychic, medical intuitive, a certified practitioner of Hannah Kroger's healing techniques, a Tera-Mai Seichem master, remote viewer, and an ordained minister. Jim was an instructor at Hannah Kroger's Peaceful Meadow Retreat in Boulder, Colorado, and he is an adept of Toltec shamanism. Jim teaches dowsing classes, medical intuitive healing classes, and integrated energy therapy classes throughout the U.S. Jim and his wife, Colleen, offer private sessions and classes in dowsing, integrated energy therapy, medical intuitive healing, Tera-Mai Reiki, and Tera-Mai Seichem. I don't know how to pronounce that last word. Jim can tell us when he comes up. I have my friend and fellow researcher, Jim Helbert, here with me tonight. Hello, Jim.
Hey, Jessica.
I'm sorry. I just totally mispronounced that last name. What is that? Tera-Mai Seichem?
I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. Tera-Mai something.
Yes,
it doesn't matter.
I have a habit of mispronouncing words all the time. So, but I should have asked you. I meant to ask you right before we went live today. But thank you so much for being here, Jim. It is such a pleasure having you. You know, I've known you for quite some time. You and I are on the same research teams out in the field. Yes. So not only are you a master dowser, you're a Bigfoot and paranormal field researcher. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes. That's part of life, isn't it?
It's a fun part of life, actually. Yes. Yeah. And I had the pleasure of being taught by you how to douse with our team. You know, we are actually really lucky to have been able to spend weekends upon weekends together at an undisclosed location, you know, to learn things like remote viewing and dowsing and survivalist skills and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you got into dowsing, because it seems to be a big part of your life.
We moved to Georgia in '94, and my wife found a dowsing class online with Joey Korn, who's in Augusta. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Who wants to learn how to douse for water?" Well, when I took his class, it just opened up the door for me for everything that I do now. It was a whole lot more than just finding water. Dowsing's like finding energies and removing energies, and in dowsing, I believe everything's possible. You know, if you have underground water underneath your house, you can move it. It's just energy. So
that sounds supernatural. Yeah.
It just opened up. It opened up the stuff that I remembered, I guess, from previous lives.
That's a great point.
You know?
Yeah. I feel like that a lot of the things that we're all doing today, we're doing them because we are perfecting them from past lives. I am a firm believer in that.
Yeah. You know how people say, "Oh, this is all new age." Well, to me, it's old age. It's old stuff that we did or remembered back we were doing it, and we didn't carry it forward. We didn't remember it when we came forward.
Hmm.
So this is just like turning on a light switch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of switches, we there's a lot of different types of dowsing that you do. There's different types, and from using branches to like a forked branch to find
Yeah,
water sources and
yeah,
things like that to copper rods. And we'll talk about all this in a little while. I know we're still talking about how you got into this, but I don't know why I related switches to the sticks. I guess because I used to get spanked with those occasionally when I
yeah,
was a kid.
yeah, yeah. Maybe that's
Yeah,
how I
but
got. Maybe that's how I got started. You know,
yeah, you had
Persickius.
an affinity.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, but I remember my father using branched sticks to find water when I was a kid
yeah,
out at the
yeah,
farm.
yeah. There's a lot of people use branches off trees. You know, the Y. They make a Y. You know, and they'll use that. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, like dogwood is a good one, or holly. I'm not sure. I don't use them. So um, I use I use copper and brass rods, and um,
Like,
just like those exactly.
mhm.
And I've got little small ones here that I carry in my pocket at times. And
Oh, those are cute. I
yeah,
have I have my big ones. I actually got these from you, I
okay,
believe, a while
yeah,
back. I use
yeah,
these all the time, Jim. I use
yeah,
them. I literally use them all the time.
yeah. And the thing about dowsing is it's practice.
Hmm.
It's believing you have the ability, and everyone can douse. It's a learned process. It's not a sacred thing, or well, you have to be initiated into it. Anyone can douse.
Hmm.
And you and I were just talking about, if people want to get started, there's a 22-page pamphlet on the internet called Letter to Robin, and it's by Walt Woods, who was one of the past presidents of the American Society of Dowsers.
Uh-huh.
And real quick note on Walt. Walt was um, during the Vietnam War. The military asked Walt to douse for downed pilots in the Gulf of Tonkin,
Oh, wow.
and he would give them coordinates on where to pick up the pilots. So not that's never been really brought out in any kind of documents or anything, but um, I got that from Robert Morgan. Robert W. Morgan, the Bigfoot guy.
Yeah.
He was the one
Yeah.
that told me that. So yeah,
I'm making, there's such a connection with dowsing and remote viewing, because with our remote
yeah,
viewing training, we're able to locate missing items, objects, people.
right.
Uh, we detect that too, and it is all just energy that we're detecting. So it's so interesting how it's all so connected, Jim.
Yeah, it's I use I use a pendulum, and when but it's just a tool. It's
Hmm.
there's times when I don't have any tools with me. I don't have my rods. I don't have my pendulum. I'll use my fingers. Is
Hmm.
this a yes or is this a no?
And how
You
does
know,
that work? Because it just, do your fingers just move by themselves,
no, you
or?
you 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 cross your fingers. Your
Hmm.
middle finger over your first finger, and you excuse me. You tell your fingers, this is no where it won't move, and this is yes where it goes up and down.
Oh,
So if you're in
cool.
a grocery store and you want to see if a piece of fruit or anything is good for you or ripe, you can, instead of having pulling out your dowsing rods or your pendulum, you just move your fingers. You put them down next to you. So
Yeah,
um,
who does that all the time is Bob. Grumpy. Grumpy does
yeah,
his finger. He tests with his fingers all the time like
yeah,
that.
yeah. And you can
Yeah.
test. You can pull your fingers apart. If they trying to get here to the camera. So
Yeah.
and you just pull your fingers, and if it pulls through, that's either yes or no. There's a lot of things in dowsing that people say you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. I'm not that kind of person. Some people say, oh, your pendulum has to swing back and forth, to be yes, and it's like, just do it the way you want it to do.
Yeah.
It's mine goes back and forth for neutral.
Uh-huh.
Just back and forth, kind of. And if it goes to yes, it swings clockwise.
Hmm.
And if it goes to no, it's counterclockwise. That's my pendulum. That's how.
I
Yeah,
have
that's
one
how.
too. Yeah.
That's how I programmed it. You have to tell it how you want it to go.
So
If you
you
want it to
tell
do
it.
this,
So
yeah.
it doesn't tell you. You tell it.
You tell it when you first program it. You say,
Okay.
this is what yes is, this is what no is, and this is what maybe or neutral is.
Yeah. And for the audience that's watching tonight, you can pretty much make anything into a pendulum. You don't have to have one that you
Anything.
buy.
I started off with a rock on a piece of
Yeah.
string.
I mean, you can. I've literally used a fishing weight that when you go fishing on
Yeah.
a fishing line, and it
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you ask a question, it'll either spin clockwise or counterclockwise, usually, or side to side, and
Yeah.
and it answers questions.
Yeah, and I know you have a chart there.
I do.
There's a lot of charts. There's a lot of charts online that you can use, and I just look at a piece of paper in front of me, and it'll like where you go from your center there to up to the yes.
Uh-huh.
That's all I ever use. I just use the right hand side of that. From 0 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go over to the negative side at all. And somebody will ask me a question. It's like, well, what percentage of this is good for me, or
Mm-hmm.
and it'll say, okay, well, and then I'll douse real quick, and it's like, well, it's 10% or 20% or 100%. So
Yeah,
it's
that's a
just
great
practice.
resource.
It's practice.
Jim, it's such a great resource, and it can answer questions in everyday life. Even if you're wondering how somebody's doing, you're like, I don't know, I haven't heard from my mom today. Is my mom okay?
Yeah.
You can also talk to dead people too, right? With that, so
yes,
yeah,
yes, yeah. You can do anything with dowsing.
mm-hmm.
Anything. If you want to talk to a person that's not here anymore, you can just start asking questions. And there's a lot of things to do. First thing they tell you to do, which is I have it programmed into me, is like you have to ask permission. May I, can I, should I?
Uh-huh.
And that's the first thing. And I have it in a program. My brain, if you think of your brain as being a computer, you put it into a program. So I don't even ask anymore. It's like when I ask my question, I know that I've already asked, may I, can I, should I? That's something you should, and you always need to ask that it comes from the highest source, highest positive source.
Good. That's a very important point. That's super important.
Yeah.
You don't want to associate with lower vibrational energies that are going to throw you off. That's the same with remote viewing too, and all the other energy work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to work with positive energy. You don't want to work with negative energy. Yeah. and the negative energy's out there. You just have to get past it.
Oh, don't I know? I know. There's a lot of it. Yeah. Well, Laura in chat has a really good point. Okay. So she's talking about how she liked to douse for beach treasure.
Yeah.
Jim, now can you douse for buried treasure and things like that?
I'm working with a group of people right now and out of country, and we're looking for old treasures, old minerals. We're looking in Mexico. I'll tell you, I'm not going to. We're looking in Mexico. We found where they are. We found like caches of gold or silver, but the Spanish buried it so deep is that we can't get equipment in there to get it out. So it all has to be hand dug. So we're jumping from place to place, trying to find a little bit of treasure that we can get some money, so then we can get equipment in there to dig.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot. There's a lot there. I'm working with a guy in North Florida that he thinks old Confederate gold on his property, which he does. And it was the gold that was taken out of Richmond and brought down and tried before the Confederacy fell.
Wow.
And like you said, I've worked with a friend of mine that had they were digging for gold in Africa, and he just sent me the coordinates of where the property was, and I just got on there and I did some map dowsing.
Yeah.
And I found where the gold was, and I told him how deep it was and how much was there. So,
well, that's it reminds me that I asked you that question about the treasure as if I didn't know, because you and I have actually worked on
oh yeah,
something together. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
for the audience
You,
sake, I didn't, I didn't want to lead into it like that, but
yeah,
we combined the remote viewing with the dowsing in a
yeah,
way
yeah,
for me to try to help you find the spot where you were going to
yeah.
be digging.
And let me put a
Yeah.
plug in for Jessica. So I asked her to do some remote viewing for me. I was in Mexico, and I asked Jessica to do some remote viewing, and I gave her the. I think I gave you the coordinates. I
You
just gave you
you
coordinates.
I think you gave me some coordinates. Yeah.
I just gave the coordinates, and Jessica comes up with this horse skeleton. Well, lo, what we find on the property, right where we were digging, was horse skeleton.
No
So
way. See, I don't
you're
even know if
right
you told
on.
me that.
You were right on it. You were right on it.
Well,
You know.
thank you. That means a lot to me. So
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah. So if you're gonna look for now you can't look for anything on national parks,
Hmm.
like Kennesaw. You can't go in there with a metal detector. But if you douse and you do it discreetly,
Hmm.
if you use your hands instead of a pendulum or a
Oh,
L rods, and again, it's practice using your hands, and you can find stuff using your hands. Like same thing, like if you're on a beach, just walk down the beach and your hands are out, and you go left or right, and then you just narrow it down. You do a triangle on it, and there it is.
yeah. Wow. I wonder how different it is to have an actual metal detector and dowsing rods. Uh, if I guess the dowsing rods would probably pick up more, right? It would be a little bit more accurate.
Well, you know, if you look at the people that are doing underground, they're marking underground electrical lines or underground water
Hmm.
lines, and they're using an electronic um detector. You can do the same thing with dowsing rods.
Yeah.
I douse for water lines. People going into people's houses or underground water underneath people's houses. And one thing I need to say real quick is use discernment when I say something or I tell you something. It's like if it rings true with you, great. If it doesn't, okay, that's fine too. So
Yeah. 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 Well, tell me about being able to move water sources. Because, if somebody has some water running under their house, sometimes they may not want that water running underneath their house for
yeah,
a plethora of
yeah,
reasons.
yeah. Underground water is detrimental for humans, but it's beneficial for plants and animals and insects. So if you have water underneath your house, and it may show up as cracks in your basement floor, or basement floor might be wet.
Hmm.
Um, you can move it. Everything to me, everything's just energy, and you can move that water out from underneath the house. And I've done it hundreds of times, and other people have done it hundreds of times.
Yeah.
So it's moving it out. When I go into a house and the first thing I ask is, does it have underground water?
Hmm.
I'll move it out to the foundation of the house where it's beneficial to plants and animals and insects.
Hmm.
So if and underground water also, if you look at the red ant hills that we have here in Georgia and the South,
Yeah.
those are domes of water that from underground water, and the insects, the ants will build their nest on the dome of water.
I
So
didn't know that.
yeah, so if
Interesting.
you ask the ants to leave, then you give them an ultimatum, say, you need to be out of here in a week, and then you plant your plants on there. The plants will thrive. You know,
Wow. See, this is
again,
old school knowledge, right?
again, that's me. It's like I believe everything's possible. So to move water is nothing. If you have a dry well, you can move water into a dry well. I did it up in Chadsworth the other day. The
Yeah.
guy had a dry well, but he had two streams coming down, so we just moved the water.
Wow. It sounds supernatural though. That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
who would think that you could really do that kind of stuff by just the power of intention and moving energy?
that's
It sounds
basically what
magical.
it's basically what dowsing is. What's your intention?
Hmm.
What your and people need to realize that we're more powerful than we know. We really are.
Yes.
It's like remote viewing. If you didn't have the tools, you could probably sit down and just bring it into your head and do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, my mom has a water source underneath her house. She has a very old historical home in the
Okay.
downtown, where in the historical area of our town. And I believe it's a well, it's some sort of a water source. And so that may or may not make for paranormal activity in the home. And I'm not saying her house is haunted. Okay. Look, mom, I know you're in the chat tonight. Your house is probably not haunted, but that is one of the reasons it's a big conductor for um energies and for spirits to
Yes.
be haunting houses. Um
Yes.
so is that something that you could go in and do to just move we get the spirits out of the house if you move the water out from underneath that house?
I've been watching the shows on the cable. The
Hmm.
Shepherdsville or Shepherdstown and whatever else, the couple of other ones. And I'm
Yeah.
just sitting there going, just move the water out from underneath the house. It's like,
Simple
but
solution.
it's their show. So but yes, you're right. It's like move the water out from underneath the house because it is detrimental. The other
Yeah.
thing about dousing and underground water is all your electrical appliances and outlets and everything, your lights and your ceiling lights and your ceiling fans and even this thing,
Uh-huh.
um, they're all detrimental. So just change that energy from detrimental energy to beneficial energy. And again, it's belief, and you can use your
Yeah.
little pendulum and go, okay, tell me when this goes from detrimental to it change everything to beneficial.
Mhm.
So
Well,
belief.
yeah. Well, I've had a couple of people in chat tonight talking about what about picking the winning lottery numbers? Okay. What do you think about that? Is that something that a remote viewer would be able to do, or someone that was, just doing dowsing for the numbers? What do you think about that?
Had a friend of mine who just passed away. She was a professional gambler, and I asked her about the lot, Powerball and Mega, and she said there is no formula, there is no magic thing you can do to figure out what it's going to be. She said they are totally random numbers. You can douse and you can say, start at number one. Is number one of the, I need six numbers out of, 1 to 70. And
Uh-huh.
you can go down and douse and see how that works. I don't do it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's possible.
Yeah. Well, some people say that you shouldn't use that kind of energy for to try to benefit like that with, winning money and stuff like that. I don't see what's wrong with it. I mean, honestly, I think I know people that use gematria, to decide who's going to win football games and things like that. And
Yeah.
they make a lot of money doing that stuff,
Yeah,
you know.
we were just talking about what I'm doing in Mexico
Mhm.
with this group. Is that our intention is to take the money that we're getting and are going to have, because we know we're going to get it, and use it to benefit the people that need it in the town, which is a large town, because they don't have medical care, they don't have dental care, they don't have any kind of transportation, from the outlying villages and anything. So our thing is to help these people. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not saying I'm not going to put some money in my pocket too,
Oh
but
yeah.
but the intention is that we're going to help the people. So again, it all goes back to dowsing. That's how they'll send me a picture of a hillside and they'll say, what do you think about this? And again, it goes back to map dowsing or picture dowsing. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, is there gold or silver in here? And is it coins? Is it bars? How much is it? How deep is it? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, Well, Jim, when someone is actually dowsing, and we have our dowsing rods. I remember we did a little we did some practice when we were learning dowsing as a team, and we sat across from. We've got a partner, and we held our dowsing rods like this, and we projected uh, mean thoughts at each other. Okay,
Yeah.
and the as we walked towards that person, and it's hard for me. I like that person, so I wasn't trying. I could not get mean thoughts in my head, but somehow I scrounged some up, and you could tell a difference between like the mean thoughts and the negativity as opposed to good thoughts and love. There was a big difference in that energy field
Yeah.
when we were practicing that, and that it really blew my mind that you actually there is an energy field and it's affected by everything that we do and our thoughts.
Every thought you have, positive, negative, it goes out. It's like cornucopia. It goes
Hmm.
out from your body and it circles around, and as it goes out, it gets exponentially wider as it goes out. So if you have a bad thought, and it's going to go out, and it's going to hit somebody, and they're going to get that negative energy. And same thing with a positive thought. You know how if you're walking in a mall or a shop or something like, and you get a whoa, what happened? You may have just walked through somebody's negative thought. You're picking it up. So you really need to be careful on what you say and what you project out.
Yeah, and yeah, we gotta also just be really mindful about how we think and talk to ourselves.
Yes.
That's a big thing. I'm always talking about that when I'm doing my spiritual guidance videos during the week. I'm like, be gentle with yourself, everybody.
Yes.
Because that really does affect us, and it affects everyone around us. What really blew me away was how that energy field went so far. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a big radius around us, and it went on forever, really. And so
Yeah.
that shows that our energy affects everyone within a
Everyone.
large distance around us, like
Yes.
a pebble in a pond, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I also do is I teach integrated energy therapy, IET. And one of the things we
Hmm.
have is to pull in this energy from the beings, the higher beings, wherever they are, whoever they are, and then you
Yeah.
project it out. And the day that I learned that, I was driving home, and again, I live north of Atlanta. I was driving home and at 5 o'clock in rush hour traffic, and it's moving about 10 miles an hour, and everybody's upset. And I just started projecting this energy out, and people were going, "Come on in, come on." Everybody was smiling, and I'm thinking, this really works.
Yeah. So that's actually a lot. That's love and light right there. I like that. Uh, so yeah, that's awesome. Well, I would really like to talk more about the paranormal side of dowsing.
Okay.
Okay. Because some people worry that if they use a pendulum or use dowsing rods, that's like a Ouija board. And it's going to be
Yeah.
opening up a portal, or something evil is going to come out, and they won't be able to get rid of it. How do you feel about that? And is there any truth behind that?
Well, let's go back to one of the original dowsers. Was how Noah stuck his was it Moses? Sorry,
Uh-huh.
sorry Noah. Moses hit the ground with his shaft, and
Yeah.
water came out.
Hmm.
Well, how long did they travel in the desert? 40 years, whatever it was. They had to have water every day. Moses'
Yeah.
sister Ruth, I believe it was Ruth,
Mhm.
was the dowser. She went out. She was the one that went out and found the water.
Wow.
So, yeah. So
It was in the Bible.
it's in the Bible.
Had to go back to the beginning of time, I would think. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's I again, people needed water. How they find it? They had to do it somehow. So
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So it's not going to be evil then if we use the pendulum to even communicate with spirits and things like that. You think it's
no,
safe?
you
Okay.
know, I again, sorry. I always ask for protection around myself when I'm working with energies that I don't know of. It's like, and I always say, wrap me in God's white light, because
Hmm.
uh, Lucifer he was white too. He had white light also. So you
Oh
ask in
yeah.
God's white light. Um, but but to use it to communicate with other on the other side, um, again, you can go back to the chart and you can say, on a scale of 0 to 100, is this that person?
Mm-hmm.
Is this, what are you doing on the other side? Or, can you help this person on this side? So,
Yeah. So basically, is it like our own body's energy is reacting to these questions and things like that too? Is it us that's making the dowsing rods move, or
no,
is it them or
no,
it?
no, it's a higher energy. And
Hmm.
I don't know what that higher energy is, if you want to call it God or source or creator.
Yeah.
Um, it's coming from somewhere. It's not me. Um, it's like when I communicate with people on the other side, I know that it's not me if I channel or something like that.
Yeah.
It's my voice, but it's not me. And I have been doing it so long, I realize that someone's just coming in and they're talking to me, but it's not me. So
Yeah. Yeah. You just got to discern, the
exactly,
difference.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, the last, at least the last couple of times that I've been out in the field when at the meadow, this
yeah.
place that our team goes out and does some research. Bob and I, Grumpy, we actually both took our dowsing rods out there, and we'll go out and start. We'll get a feel of the land out there, and we'll go to different fields to try to find out like where the activity is going to be that night. And we're asking questions and just dowsing for paranormal stuff out there, the different energies and
Yeah. Well,
ET and Bigfoot stuff.
I've been asked to at times when we go out is to say, we narrow this down for me. Here's a map of the area. Narrow it down on where we need to look tonight.
Hmm.
And I've given it to the people, and they make a decision on where we're going to go.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you can say, again, narrow it to map dowsing. Map dowsing is basically just taking a map in front of you and going across the top and then coming down, and you get a coordinate. Um, and again, then you go back and say, okay, what's the percentage we're going to find Bigfoot tonight, or what's the percentage we're going to see a UFO? And again, it goes from 0 to 100.
yeah, yeah. Well, usually when our team's out there, we're guaranteed to see something. I think. Do you think that that's because we don't always have activity when we're out in the woods, Jim? But do you think that it has a lot to do with the group that goes out there, or do you think it's the land that contains all of the activity?
Both, both, but I think it's more the land. I think that the land is um, it's natural. It's natural for what is out there. And again, it's what's out there. There's a lot of things that I've come to learn. There's a lot of things out there that I never thought was true.
Right.
And um, I was just talking to a woman the other day about myths, and I was telling the story about how we looked up on the hill and saw this thing up there, and it was then we were told, oh, it's a myth. Well, that myth was true. So there's a lot of things in the world that we just need to be aware of.
Hmm.
If it's you think it's a myth, it may not be.
It's a reality somewhere. I mean, pretty
Yeah,
much if you can think it can be. Now, Nana Boss. Hey Marty, I'm so glad Marty's okay. She was down in Florida during the hurricane this week. Um, Marty, the Nana Boss, she was asking about ley lines tonight. Can dowsing rods detect ley lines, Jim?
sure, sure. There's thousands of ley lines around around the world, where they cross. You different energies where they cross. You know, some and you need to ask. What's the percentage of this ley line? Is it a positive ley line? Is it a negative ley line? If I put something on the ley line, I find the ley line. Um, can we if you're a farmer, let's say, or had a garden, and you had a ley line on there, it's like, okay, well, is it positive or negative? And again, this all goes back to intention and belief and faith. It's like, well, if it's negative, let's change it to positive.
Yeah.
You know?
Donnie, thank you so much for that super chat tonight. That is really awesome of you. He says that I think dowsing rods work through electromagnetism and all the different ways spiritual forces and entities interact with our electromagnetic field. Yeah. Does that sound about right?
That's yeah.
Yeah.
I'm again, I'm not.
Well, it can be mixed in with a little bit of spiritual stuff, right? With that higher power.
It's just, I mean, it's there. And Donnie's right. It is electromagnetism. But, it's also, it's intention and belief. There's on top of a bed, if you look at a bed, on each side of the bed, there's a line. There's an energy line on each side of the bed. And then at the top and foot of the bed, there's another energy line. And you need to change those lines to positive instead of negative, because they do turn negative at times.
Yeah. It's interesting how with just your intention, you can change all sorts of stuff.
Everything.
It's magic. It's literally magic. I mean, we would have been burned at the stake over this stuff back in the day, Jim. I'm just saying, we might have been.
I think we were at one time.
We probably were. So now, but it's a lot more accepted these days. And I mean, seriously, my dad and my grandparents would use sticks to go find water, and so I don't see how different that is than reading tarot cards these days.
No,
but no,
I really get a lot of phone calls around the Southeast. I've doused out in Montana, or in Colorado and Montana, but I most of my work for wells is dowsing in the Southeast. So, I mean, there's a lot of water around, and people are accepting it. I doused the guys down below Atlanta, a while ago, and they were building a house and found their water line, and they were very happy about it. People next door bought the land next to them. They called me up and said, come find the water line, the stream of water, underground stream of water. So, that's fair. One of the things about dowsing is, if you're looking for water, is look at the lay of the land. You're not going to be up on top of a hill and try and find water up there. You're going to find it where it comes down to the thing. Same thing with like looking for gold. You're not going to find it on top of the hill. When there's gold in every stream in Georgia, in the South. And, you just look at the lay of the land, and then you can figure out, okay, use your dowsing rods and you can lay out the vein of gold. Yeah.
Go pan for gold out there. You know who likes gold? We've discovered that Sasquatch and aliens really like gold. And I've done a show, at least one show, on the Sasquatch gold mine connection, Jim. And our friend Fred in Alaska has made that connection too. I don't know if they're guarding the gold mines or what, but there's some kind of connection. Now, you somehow got into Bigfoot field research over at some point. How did you get into Bigfooting? Did you ever have any experiences with Sasquatch?
I did. I grew up in Maryland, northern Maryland, above Baltimore, and coming home from work one day or something, I don't remember exactly how it was, looked in this field, and there's this big thing walking across the back of the field. So I went out there the next day and was trying to look for prints. And I'll tell you this story real quick. Yeah. So it's this thicket, and I'm looking for the prints, and I hear this rustling, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here comes a Bigfoot. It was a dog. It was like a hound had been in there. So, but anyway, northern Maryland is very active. There's a friend of one of my good friends, Bob Chance, was a biology teacher there, and he's really the one that got Bigfoot's out in the open in Maryland. So he and I have just become really good friends, and so he's real friends. He's good friends with Lauren Coleman and Dallas Tanner and all those people. So.
Yeah.
That's how I got started with Bigfoot.
So that's how you got started. And then you came down here to Georgia And you met up with
eventually.
the ERG fellas and started
Yeah,
going out with the crew.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Had my back of my hair, staying up on my neck, and I'll tell you what happened the first time we went out to where we go.
Hmm.
Is I got there and I started up the road, and I got, my mind's going, you turn around, turn around. So I turned around and went home, and I called and I said, I wasn't, I'm not coming because I was told to turn around and go home. And the fellow says, "Oh, they got you." Well, it was the ETs got me.
They
They
didn't
were
want
putting
you
it,
there.
they were putting it in my mind. Don't go, don't go.
I
That
remember
was this.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the second time I've got them. So why you say you got me once, you got me twice, but you're not going to get me the third time. That was the second time I had been gotten by the ET. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I've got this thing that I've been saying lately, because this is what the head of our team, Lee, always says. He said, all roads lead back to ET. Okay.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
we've been out there doing Bigfoot field research, and we've come across so much other stuff like portals and ETs,
yeah.
a lot of UFO activity and
Yeah.
orbs. I mean, what do you think these orbs are that we're encountering out there?
To me, my opinion, they're like little observation craft that go out.
Hmm.
And they're always looking. It's like if you're here, then they're going to come flying around you. If you're over here, they're going to go flying around you. And I believe that they're communicating back with a larger energy source. So
Yeah. I think you might be right with that. I think so. We did the first time I went out with the group. We had that UFO incident in the UFO field, and um,
yeah,
that was weird. That was really
yeah,
weird.
yeah,
But there was a small craft out there, and it was probably connected to a larger craft somewhere. So
yeah. I know we're getting a little off. I'm getting off of. I'll get off of Dowsing here because we're going to go other place. But we
no,
were
we're
out one
talking about
night.
everything tonight.
Okay, we were out. We were out one night, and it was late, and we could hear the Bigfoot. They were upset because we were out there, and we interrupted their hunting. And we're at the top. We're at the top of the meadow, beyond the meadow. Where the road
Hmm.
ended, and it was dark. It was,
Hmm.
the moon was out, but it was still dark, and I could see this black form coming down the hill, and I watched it come, and I'm sitting in a lawn chair, and it came and it jumped right on me. And I'm thinking, oh my, what about this? And luckily, Lee was there, and it was like,
Hmm.
got it off.
Yeah.
But it was like I left myself open for that energy. I was like, I was like so mad. I was like, you let that thing jump on you.
Well,
So
what would you have done differently had you
I would have
known?
I would have put up some kind of protection around me, and
Hmm.
I would have stopped it when it got coming down the hill. I would have
Yeah.
thrown up energy to block it.
Yeah. Yeah. How important is it for field researchers to protect their energy before they go out in the field or while they're out in the field uh,
Well,
with all the unknowns?
you're always projecting where you're going to go and what you're going to do. That's that intention thing. It's like, okay, well, if you say the spoken word goes out and it's like, okay, we're going to go up here and look. They already know that you're coming up there to look because it's already come out. And I
Yeah.
believe that UFOs or Bigfoot or whoever they are, they can pick up on that energy. They can hear it. They can, sense it. So
Hmm.
it's like when I drive up to that area, they already know we're coming.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree with that
yeah,
statement. I think they know we're coming. They
yeah,
sense us. And
yeah,
I feel like, we've been going to the same research areas for so long. I think that they have a connection with us somehow. Not to say that we are all nice and chummy with the Bigfoots in the area, but I feel like they do know we're coming
yeah,
before we get there.
yeah. And it's I live 50, 70 miles away, and they know immediately. I know when I get in my car to go up there or my truck to get up there, it's like they know
Yeah.
that I'm on the way. You know.
Yeah. Well, we have a bunch of interesting stuff going on out there, including a portal. We've
Yeah.
encountered two portals actually. One of our team members walked into two different portals at two different locations.
Yeah.
What do you think about these portals that we're encountering out there? or they seem to appear and then disappear. Or do you think that maybe this is where these missing people are going out of the national parks and that missing 411 series with David Paulides?
There's a lot of theory on that. It's to me the portals move. They're not always in the same location.
Mm-hmm.
So I think years ago I used to think, well, Bigfoot just jumps in a portal when it goes, where it wants to go. And then I sort of got away from that. Now I'm back to Bigfoot just jumps in the portal, and they know where the portal is, and they can put a portal here, and mile away they could open that portal again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Yeah.
It's all the big mystery of what's going on in life.
Yeah. Where do you think those portals go? Where do you think? Do you think that they just go in another location in the area, or is it different for each case? Do they go to Mars? Where do they go?
I believe that they can go anywhere. If they want to go from here to an underground bunker that they have, or a spaceship, or a cave that they wherever they. That's the ET. I mean the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Portals. They're different. I have a friend of mine has a portal in their house.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I've heard of people having portals in their yard.
Yeah, and things just come out of the portals, like not bad things, because they worked hard on it about keeping the negative energy out.
Mm-hmm.
But the things will just appear on their in their room. Here it is. Oh, how'd this get here? I don't know. Came through the portal.
Do you think that we could take our dowsing rods out into the field and detect a portal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And we need to do that. We haven't been out in a long time.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a trip planned here pretty soon. I'm gonna be taking my dowsing rods. If I go, I'm planning on going. But yeah, I think that we need to. Even though we're out there in the middle of the night when it's dark and stuff, and it's hard to see our dowsing rods, but we can do it.
Again, if you use your hands, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll work with everyone in the group. It's
Yeah.
and there's chakras all through the body, but people don't know there's chakras in your hands, and it feels energy. You can feel left to right, up and down.
Mm-hmm.
It's just getting it's practice and practice and practice.
And it's getting to know your body and the way your body reacts to energy. And, I find it fascinating that, when we were learning remote viewing, we were doing activities where, it was like homework. It was like, go home and notice the energy shift from one room to the next. Like when you walk from your kitchen to your living room, or you walk from the inside of your house to the outside of the house, or to the garage to the basement, or whatever. And stuff like that. It's really becoming aware of your surroundings and your energy and the energy of people around you.
Yeah.
It's so important.
A few years ago, there was a hurricane headed towards New Orleans, and we got a call from the First Georgia Dowsers, and they were like, we all need to work on this hurricane and keep it out of New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Well, if you notice that the hurricane went up there and it turned, and it's like we were all sending our energy out to turn that hurricane, and it worked.
Wow.
People would say, oh, it was the wind, and the atmospheric pressure and da 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 da. It's like, no, like 10 or 12 of us worked and moved that energy.
Wow. It's like the power of prayer, Jim,
Power of prayer, power of intention,
Yeah. Anytime, I know my mom has friends who have prayer groups, and when somebody's in a car accident or someone's injured in some way or going to surgery, they'll get on their phones and call their prayer groups. And I mean, it's like, it can potentially be hundreds and hundreds of people in these small towns and like regional and all over the world praying for putting their energy into that and that intention. It's powerful.
I had a friend in Nebraska, and he was a Presbyterian minister for, I don't know, 40, 50 years. Mm-hmm. And he got bone cancer. Mm-hmm. And he said he wasn't going to go through chemo or anything else. He wasn't going to treat it because he was ready to go. And he said, I just don't want to have pain. And if you know people that have bone cancer, it's very painful.
Yeah.
But he only contacted two of us, and so this other person and I worked on him, and he passed like 6 weeks later, and he never had a bit of pain when he left.
Wow.
It's because our intention was to help him go through his transition with painless. So intention.
Yeah. Well, you are a medical intuitive healer. So how are you pretty easily able to pick up on people's ailments and really focus in on parts of their bodies where they may have an ailment like cancer or some kind
Yeah,
of joint
yeah,
problems or anything?
yeah. There's a lady, Carolyn Mace, MYSS, and Dr. Norm Shealy, and they
Mhm.
have a 4-year program that they teach you medical intuitive is what they do.
Mhm.
I give you I do a medical intuitive class in 8 hours. I give you like the Cliff Notes version.
That's what I like. That's how I like to teach too. That
And
kind of way.
I try to make it simple. And if you with a group of people, you can break down the person's body, even if you can't see or sense or anything. Say let's work on your arm. You got so here take this, and you think of it as a mannequin. Let's pull the arm off and let's look around it. And,
Mhm.
how do the muscles look, how they feel, and you're visualizing it in your head. And you know, to me, cancer, like breast. Let's take breast cancer. Breast
Mhm.
cancer looks like a red pencil, and that's how I see it. So pull it out. Just pull that energy out and fill it in with beneficial energy. It
Wow.
works. And um, I was teaching classes at Hannah Kroger's out in Colorado,
Mhm.
and I was teaching them about removing uh, cataracts from eyes. And it's just cataracts like a film. We'll just reach in there and just visualize it. You don't have to,
Energetically.
yeah,
Yeah.
just pull it out and throw it away, and then flush it down with unconditional love. And this woman comes over to me,
Go
she
down the
says,
toilet with
looks at me, she
unconditional
says,
love.
and she says,
Yeah.
I can see the leaves on the trees. She says, I could never see
Wow.
them. Um, I,
That's
I,
amazing.
yeah, there was a guy, Doctor, Reverend Doctor Willard Fuller, and I learned a lot from him. They called him the tooth doctor. He would talk for an hour, and then he would take a flashlight and a mirror and look in people's mouths, and their fillings would change to gold or silver or whatever, or new teeth. I've seen new teeth pop in. As
Whoa.
strange as it sounds, I've seen new teeth pop in.
Is this
Uh,
part of our new Earth, you think, Jim? Is this
I think it's
is this the
it's
5D? Are we getting there?
yeah, we are,
Yeah.
and it's belief and it's faith and it's like you said, prayer. Everything's possible if you
I
believe
think so.
everything is energy. Like I told somebody the other day, this mouse is part of God. It's got cells. Whether
Yeah.
they're alive cells or dead cells or whatever you want to call them, it's all part of Creator. So like,
It's all one.
why can't we remember that we can do anything? We can do
Yeah.
anything.
I mean, I'm really big into manifesting, and I talk about this all the time, Jim. Uh, we can manifest anything we want into our lives, good or
Yes.
bad. And so we
Yeah.
have to really stay on a higher vibrational frequency and try to, get rid of everything that's not serving your highest good, and just try to get grounded and feel good about yourself and take care of yourself and your loved
Yeah.
ones.
And
Yeah,
that's hard. It's really hard.
it
I mean,
is.
it's not. My wife and I, we've manifested all of our dogs. It's like we wanted a chocolate lab.
Yeah.
Well, next thing we go, her brother calls and says, "Hey, this guy wants to give away a chocolate lab." There you go.
Yeah.
Wanted wanted this house.
It,
It's set your intention and don't waver from it. There's things that you can use. You can use a vision board.
mhm.
And put things out there that you want and set your intention. Um, there's a process called Heart Link, and it's bringing in the angelic energy and it's unconditional love and filling up your body. And you send that out to what you have on your vision board or whatever you have in your intention, and connect with it, and then just let it go. Well, I want a red Corvette. Let it go. Don't say I want a black
Right.
Corvette 2 days from now. Because then they're going to go, you don't know what you want, so we're not going to give it to you.
Yeah, don't change your mind. Write it down.
Exactly.
And I believe it's Abraham Hicks that talked about the vortex and how you become a vortex to the things that you want once you get your mind right. And that's
Yeah.
that's something that I love about remote viewing. And yeah, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
yes, we just got a big old super chat. Thank you, Tito.
It's your belief. You have, and it's hard to hold that belief. It really is hard to hold. It's hard to say I can do anything. You just
Yeah.
have to keep reminding yourself that everything's good. You're good.
Yeah. Well, I think that we're doing great, Jim. I am so excited. Tito, thank you. That is a huge super chat. That is so sweet of you. It is all love here. That just gave me goosebumps. You're so sweet.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. We're manifesting over here, Jim. So,
Yeah.
it is all about love and to have that good intention. And I think that's why we do get a lot of really interesting activity and a lot of high strangeness when we're out doing Bigfoot field research, because we do have a heart that is exuding love. A lot of us do. I think we have a team full of people who are full of love. Okay.
Yeah.
And we go out there with pure intentions, not to hurt anybody. Okay.
Yep.
So I think that's good advice. Well, Jim, this has been wonderful. Where can people find you?
They can reach out to me at my website's up, but it's only has medical intuitive on it, and it's old, and I'm working on it. But if they want to email me, they can email me at dowserusa dowserusa @gmail.com.
Yes, I've got it up on the screen.
Yeah,
Amy, thank you for that super chat, Amy. You are so sweet. I just love you to death too. Y'all are so sweet tonight.
Yeah, there's a thing I talked about heart link process, and if people learn how I can send you a little thing about heart link process, and it walks you. I try to make things simple, so I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get it out there for everybody, and also you're part of the First Georgia Dowsers, and so if anybody's in the Atlanta area, this is a group that Jim's a part of, and so y'all look them up. They have some. I believe y'all have a YouTube channel, Jim, and I don't know if it's up to date, but but they can. Yeah. You guys can find Jim with the First Georgia Dowsers, and there's a couple of books if you guys want some resources on Dowsing Beyond Duality. And the author, I think it's two people. Their last name's Cohen.
Yeah.
I couldn't fit it all up on the screen.
Yeah, that's fine. Dowsing Beyond. It's excellent book. Excellent.
Yes, and Letter to Robin, you guys. Yeah. So y'all check that out, okay? And so Jim, I just want to thank you so much for being here tonight. Everybody with the super chats tonight, y'all are amazing. Thank y'all so much, and thank everybody for being here. Jim, I hope you'll come back and join me. Please come back and join me very soon.
It goes fast. It really goes fast.
It goes. I told you it would go by really fast.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, Jim, have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next time. Okay. Thank you. Wait. Okay. Bye. All right, y'all. That's awesome. I just love Jim. Don't forget, right after this show, you can join the After Hours crew. They're going to take you on an incredible journey for the next 3 hours. Next time on Off the Trails, my guest will be Tex from Texas Front Porch, and we're going to be talking about alien abductions while field researching, and I can't wait to see y'all then. But for now, I'm the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. I'm headed off the trails. You guys, After Hours is next. This has been such an amazing show. I'll see y'all tomorrow night. Bye.